Hey guys, welcome back after spring break. Look, I told y'all, after spring break everybody disappears. I just did not expect the whole campus to disappear or the whole school to disappear for that matter. So, I'm really sad that we did not get to finish the semester together face to face. I was really looking forward to it. You guys seem like such an amazing group, and I was really, really looking forward to spending the rest of the semester together. So, but, things work out the way they work out, so at least we get to finish everything this way. It's not ideal, and it's not perfect, but at least it gets you through the semester with a passing grade, right? And if there's anything y'all need help with, just let me know. I certainly do not mind answering emails, and they're on my phone, so I do get them rather quickly. This is for Chapter 2, and when I post the video, I will also post the homework for Chapter 2. I'm still trying to figure out how all of this technology stuff works because I am not technologically inclined. So I'm trying my best. So we'll just have to see how things work out. And again, if there's any questions that you have, do not hesitate to ask me and let me know, and I will certainly do my best to help you navigate the amazingly unique experiences for the rest of the semester. So like I said, we're going to be covering Chapter 2, which is the scientific method, psychology scientific method. So when we talk about the scientific method, understand that when we talk about science in and of itself, science is a method. It's not what you study, it's how you study it. So it comes from a theory. So the science that you study, or especially in psychology, or really I guess with any science, everything comes from a theory. And a theory is something as simple as asking, wow, why does something do that? I bet it's because. Or I wonder when this happens, if we change something, will something different happen? So all science is based on theories, which are just ideas that attempt to explain observations, make predictions about future things. So, if we don't like the way things work right now, what can we change to do things differently in the future? Can't change things that have already happened, but what can we do to make things going forward work a little easier, or how to make things work a little more in our favor? When we talk specifically about the scientific method, there's five steps in the scientific method, and these 5 steps are repeated every time there's a psychology experiment or science experiment done, and it's because everything needs to be standardized as far as how it's all kind of researched. Just like your standardized tests, they're called standardized because they're, the same amount of time is given, the same environment there, the same group, the same type of people are there. It's because that way you can, or the people that are kind of tabulating the responses or the answers are, everything is kind of compatible. Your kind of, apples and oranges. You want to make sure that you're observing apples with apples and oranges, and not anything in between. So the first step in the scientific method is simple observation. You see something that you wonder about, you see things you disagree with, so there's just some type of phenomenon that you have observed, and then from that you hypothesize, or you formulate a prediction or a guess about why things are the way they are, how things are the way they are, and is there something that you can do to effectively change the outcome if this should happen again. So what happens is then from the hypothesis, you then go into testing your criteria. So whatever research there is. So if you want to, if you're trying to figure out how to work with your kiddos, especially over this bizarre happenings right now of everybody coming home and everybody working from home, all the kids are at home. Right now is just a great opportunity to kind of put this scientific method to use, because what we've observed is we now have all of our kids at home, whether it's one kid or two kids or a bunch of kids, or maybe we don't have any kids at all, but the fact is we're now having to work from home. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can make things easier. In this first couple of weeks is going to take it's a transition, so it's going to take a lot of a lot of testing, and it's some things are going to work and some things aren't. And so once you figure out, or you hypothesize, you come up with a hypothesis of how you can change something to make it better, you then change it. And then after you change something, whether it's to create a schedule for your kiddos, whether it's or create a schedule for yourself, or creating an environment where you have your space. And so these first couple weeks are going to be about finding things that work and realizing things that don't work. So when we draw these conclusions, okay, as to whether or not something works, it's based on the evaluation of the outcome. The kids are getting to bed on time, you're getting your work done, the kids are getting their work done, the house is getting cleaned. So you can put your life into the scientific method of trying to see things that don't work, wanting to change things, how to change things, trying some ideas out, figuring out whether or not that's the right thing to do, and then whether or not you want to continue with that, or if you want to make some additional changes. And of course, things are going to change. We had hoped that we would all be back by mid-April, but the likelihood, as we see things going forward, the likelihood of us coming back together in person as the semester draws to a close is probably slim to none. But as we're navigating this unique set of circumstances, we'll figure it all out eventually, right? So from here, the book goes into the different types of research. So the first type of research that the book covers is what they call descriptive research. Now, descriptive research doesn't answer questions about why things are the way they are, okay? Descriptive research can however, identify issues. This morning when I woke up, one of the first things I see, I'm downstairs trying to get breakfast done, right? And I look over to my right and there's cat yak on the floor. I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously, not the way I wanted to start my week off, right? So I'm sitting here trying to figure out, why is my cat yakking? So what I'm thinking, and I'm looking at what I'm seeing, and as I'm realizing that it's the food they're eating. So I can't necessarily, from descriptive research, figure out why they're all of a sudden yakking more, but I can look or think about the changes that I've made. Is it a change in their wet food? Is it a change in their dry food? Or maybe they're just stressed out. So it doesn't necessarily, so descriptive research isn't going to give me any of the answers to these things, but it's going to help me identify some of the issues so that I can then go back and create a different type of research so that I can decide what to do with my kitties. Do I need to change their wet food to, something that they like better? Do I need to feed them less often? Do I need to feed them more often? I'm thinking I'm just going to go back to the hairball solution, and maybe they'll stop yakking up hairballs. So, all right, from there we go into correlation and causation. Now, understanding that correlation does not equal causation. So basically, just because two things are happening at once doesn't mean that one will cause the other. One of the examples that I love to use here is ice cream in the summer and crime rates in the summer. So fictitiously, of course, because I don't have any specific research on this, but I am saying, for hypothesis sake, or just as just saying as an example, during the summer the rate of ice cream sales increases. Also during the summer, right, the rate of crime increases. Now, does the rate of crime increasing have anything to do with the increased rate of, or the increased sales of ice cream? I highly doubt it. But what that tells me though is I see one increasing, and I see something else increasing, and there must be something out there that is causing each of these to rise. Now, my guess would be the heat. When it's hot outside, we eat more ice cream, right? When it's hot outside, crime increases. Why? Because we're grouchy. Everybody gets grouchy. Well, I get grouchy when I get hot. So if I'm grouchy, I'm assuming other people are grouchy. And when I'm grouchy, I just tend to be a little more apt to not be my composed, normal self. So, so the correlation, correlation is not going to answer why something happens, okay? To answer why something happens, we have to do what we call experimental research. Now, experimental research will determine what causes it. And through experimental research, it's just trying to test why something happens, okay? So and how to do that is you look at the ice cream sales in the summer versus the ice cream sales at any other time of the year. Or if you want to go week by week basis and look at the temperature this week was, and give it a range, and, talk to Publix or Winn-Dixie or Walmart or whomever and find out how much ice cream they've sold. And then look at the crime rates for those weeks, depending on, I don't know, however often the statistics for crime rates are released, whether it's a yearly basis or a monthly basis or whatever. I'm sure you can, go somewhere, Google, and figure out these answers. And so you're going to be able to realize that the heat may have more to do with ice cream and crime rather than ice cream and crime causing each other to increase. Now from there we go into what we call biases and expectations. When any experimenter does research, there is the chance that there is a bias. And what a bias is trying to skew, or maybe not necessarily trying to, but maybe inadvertently skewing the information or skewing the results to fit your expectations of what this research is. Whether something works, if I'm in an argument and I'm like, this works, then when I present the information to my peers to be argued or debated or whatever, I'm going to present the information in a way that is going to get them to agree with me. Same when we're talking to our kids or anybody else for that matter. When we're expecting a yes answer, we find we're asking the question with the yes. Now, you did what I asked you to do, right? If we're talking to our kids, you cleaned your room like I asked, right? You're talking to the spouse, you did the laundry like I asked, right? So what we don't realize we're doing it, but what we're doing is we're biasing the answer. We're telling them through our nonverbal behavior that we're expecting a specific response. On the other hand, we've got the you didn't disrespect, you weren't disrespectful at Grandma's house when you went to go visit Grandma for spring break, were you? You behaved exactly like Mom told you to, right? So experimenter bias, it's creating or putting across information in a way that is going to kind of put the information in a way that you had hoped. So again, it's not always on purpose. It's sometimes by accident. We don't necessarily realize it. But then there's also the research participant bias. So anybody that's participating in research, human characteristics or human nature says that what we do, we want to do what the other person is asking, or we want to make the other person happy, or we want to give the other person what they're expecting from us. And that's just human nature. That's, that's not good, it's not bad, it just simply is the way humans behave. So we have to be very careful, or researchers have to be very careful when they're putting information out there as far as as the experimenter, how are they doing it? And as a research participant, how are they doing it? And are we getting the correct answers based on what is actually happening, not what you want to hear, not what you want me to say, but what is actually going on. So to kind of combat that, that's why they have what's called the placebo effect. So now the placebo effect is basically, it's there but it's not there. It's there but it's not real. If you take a medication, when they give you a placebo, like kids when they're little, they fall down, they hurt themselves. Yeah, it's a scratch. They're not dying, but they think they are. So you say, "Oh, right, sweetheart, here, you take this and you'll be okay in 5 minutes." And instead of giving them this medication, you're giving them a Tic Tac or a piece of small candy or whatever it is. Now, to them, you're fixing it, but you really haven't fixed anything. You're just kind of, those expectations, we've set expectations up that medicine helps fix things. And so we're considering this medicine and allowing it to fix. So, but when you're doing big research projects, like with drugs, when the pharmaceutical companies want to test out new drugs, when the companies release medications, they'll release medications that has, 0 of the active ingredient in it. And then from there, varying amounts of the active ingredient, where it's 10, 20, 30 milligrams or whatever, however. And so to get non-biased information, the best thing to do is to create what they call, or use what they call a double-blind experiment, which is neither the experimenter nor the research person, neither the researcher nor the experimenter, or dadgummit, neither the experimenter or the participant know what they're getting. So if Glaxo Wellcome has created a new drug that they want tested, then what they're going to do is they're going to label each dosage with a code. And that code is then, they're going to have, a list of, this code is this code is that, and so they'll have a rubric, I guess, if you will, of what is what. But when they send the information out to the research lab doesn't know what this code does not know what the code means. So that when they give the medication to the research participant doesn't know what they're getting either. So that's when, so they have to understand that maybe they're not getting the real thing, maybe they are, but it just keeps those nonverbal cues at a minimum. So, but now that we've talked about research, where do we do this research? There are two places to do research. There's the artificial world, which is a laboratory setting, or then there's the real world, which is your natural setting. Okay, so your controlled setting is one of the, and I hate commercials, but one of the commercials that I have seen over the last couple weeks is, I think Cheez-Its has come out with a new crisp. And so they're all sitting in this boardroom type area with chairs all around the conference table, and you've got the researcher sitting in a room next to it with that one-way mirror, or the two-way mirror, or the window, or whichever. That's an artificial world setting. You're inviting people into the laboratory to test something that you have. Real world setting, or a natural setting, would be to offer these snacks to kids after school, kids after lunch, parties, or whatever. And so you're getting, not only are you introducing the product in a natural setting, but you're also not allowing everybody to feed on everybody else, and you're not necessarily trying to get a reaction about this one chip. In an artificial world setting, if one person likes it, then everybody else, well, this is a new product, so I guess they're expecting us to like it, so I better say I like it, even if I don't. So in a natural setting, you're more apt to get a real response. However, there are disadvantages to both. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. Artificial world is a controlled setting. Advantage of a natural setting is everything is natural. However, the disadvantage of the artificial world is it's controlled. You're not letting everybody do what comes natural. But in a real world setting, the disadvantage of is you don't have any control over anything. Things just simply happen as they happen, and you don't really get to control what's going on or have any control over what's going on. Now, if you are part of a research project, there are ethics out there that the research or the experimenter has to abide by. Okay, and the first and most important thing is, as a participant, you have rights. The APA guidelines say you have to have informed consent. Okay, basically they have to let you know, they don't have to let you know whether or not you're getting the drug. That's what they call a little bit of deceit. But they do have to say that, if you get the drug, these are some of the reactions. If you don't get the drug, some of the things that may not change. All right. They also have to guarantee your confidentiality. They can't disclose your name as being a part of a certain research experiment. They can't release your name. They can't release any specific information about you. Now, when you finish a research project, sometimes they will ask you at the end, hey, do you want us to keep your information so that we can contact you, later on, or do you want to keep, your findings on file so that we can follow, long-term research and keep blood samples on file for what happens or what doesn't happen. But again, that doesn't release any of your personal information. That's just releasing, you've been assigned a number. And so that number is associated with your information. And then that number is brought out by patient number, 1, 2, 3, ABC. At the end, you have to have a debriefing. Basically, they have to let you know what's going on, how to proceed. If the drug is available via prescription already, how do you get it? What's it called? If it's not out yet, then when will it be out? What will it be called? And they'll also give you some follow-up information where you can contact the research group and ask questions later on. Again, the deception, they have rights to deceive you just a little bit, but not so much that you can't back out. In any research, if you don't like what you're feeling, if you don't like what you're experiencing, you always have the right to back out. They cannot force you into staying in a research project. You can Google or you go on YouTube and you can find different research experiments from the past where people in the experiment have said, look, I want to stop, and they said, no, you can't, because what you're doing is you're causing psychological trauma, which you're not allowed to do. So anytime a participant wants to back out, they absolutely can. And then, of course, at the end of all research, you have a review board, and that review board will then, the review board is the one that follows along and makes sure that everybody's following the rules, and that makes sure that, the experiment was done in the correct manner. And then from there, excuse me, and a highly debated topic is animal research in psychology. Now, animal research has benefited humans, okay, because of the way the brains work, the way the body works, the way the metabolic system works. Rats in mazes and things of that nature. So not everybody likes the idea of animal research, but regardless, it does have some human benefits, or it has some benefits to humans. However, it is important to note that only 5% of researchers actually use animals, and of that 5%, 90% of those used are either rats or mice. And part of it is their size. They can, a lot of mice can be used, and they're relatively, they can learn. They have the same, they can learn like humans learn. Put the rat in a maze, and how long does it take him to find the cheese, right? But when they have these animals under their care, they do have to maintain certain things. They have to maintain the animal's housing. They have to feed the animal, and they have to have psychological and physical well-being. They can't put the animal in any they can't on purposely damage the animal psychologically or physically. Again, hot topic, and I know some people disagree, and then that's absolutely okay. Some people agree with it, and again, that is absolutely okay. We're not here to debate it, just it simply is. All right, so that wraps it up for chapter 2. Questions will be posted along with this video, and you guys can, answer the questions. They'll be online in Canvas, ways that you can upload your answers to your questions. And again, at any time, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to email me. I'll answer your emails as quickly as I can. The thing about being at home is I'm always by my computer now, right? So, all right, well, you guys stay safe, stay well, no drinking and driving. If you decide to drink and feel like driving, email me, I'll come get you. No questions asked, no judgment, and I will not tell your mom. All right, you guys behave, stay well, and I will see you next time. Bye.